Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Recipe for Success, brought to you by Junior Achievement. Those of you who have watched us before, you know that these episodes and series is all about hearing from leaders and entrepreneurs and what's going on in their organizations today, as well as the leadership ingredients that have helped them to achieve success. And so this week we have one of our storefront sponsors, and a longtime friend in the community, Dr. George Hanbury, who is the president of Southeastern University. How are you, Dr. Hanbury?
I'm fine. It's a pleasure to be on your show, Laura.
Well, thank you so much. Welcome into my home and my kitchen, which I've actually been using, I think, more than ever since I moved in this house 15 years ago. And so I wanted to first start with, I know that for shifting junior achievement into the virtual world, right, and continuing to teach students while we had already done some of that preparation and were somewhat prepared, there still was more to do, and it was certainly still a transition for everyone. I can't imagine what it must have been like to transition a big ship like Nova Southeastern. So could you share with us for a couple of moments, what that was like and getting your teams out there and getting your students in position to be continue to be learning?
Oh, absolutely. It's been traumatic, just like I imagine it's been throughout the world. To go one day where everything seems to be rolling along perfectly, and then to be sucker punched by an unseen enemy. And as such, the first thing we did was to suspend classes. It just so happened that a lot of our students were on spring break, but then some students weren't. So we couldn't extend spring break because 80% of our students are graduate and professional, and only 20% undergrad. So we, contrary to most universities in the country, instead, in order to be able to transform everything from some online, some hybrid, some face-to-face, to everything being online, since none of our 18 colleges had the same start and end of spring break, contrary to most other universities, I had to suspend classes, whether it was in spring break, beginning of spring break, or ending of spring break, or no spring break. So we suspended all classes for almost 24,000 students, including our early childhood development and our NSU University School, which is our, as you know, our pre-K through 12, and a lot of those students go to junior achievement. So
they do. They all do, actually.
We actually suspended classes for 10 days, beginning the 13th of March. And with the understanding that on the 23rd of March, all 5,000 classes that are taught to those 24,000 students would be completely and totally online, whether it was medicine or law or psychology, even clinics and chemistry and things that people say can't be. Now, we were fortunate because we were early on when many universities looked down upon those that were distance learning, and NSU or Nova started distance learning long ago, over 40 years ago.
Wow.
And we're one of the first in vanguard for online learning. So we were pretty well prepared with the capability technology-wise. And since we were accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, which all of the universities from Virginia, like University of Virginia, all the way down through Texas and Florida, every university in that region has to be accredited by SACS. But a lot of those universities aren't accredited for distance learning or online.
Wow.
NSU is. So we really were ahead of the game. And then doing that 10 days, our faculty who were not used to being online, that had been completely face-to-face, like law school, prepared themselves, took educational training on Zoom and our own Canvas, which is our platform for teaching and instruction online. And we've had, since the 23rd, been teaching completely online, and I've gotten very positive reports from students. It seems to be working.
Right.
So we will continue doing that at least through the summer, with the hopes that we will open in the fall.
Yeah, I think we're all hoping for that. We don't know what yet will happen with the Broward County Public Schools either. And you mentioned university school, and I would be remiss before I ask my next question, just to mention that university school has been one of our, of course, the fifth graders go to BizTown and the eighth graders go to Finance Park, but the high schoolers have been in our JA Fellows entrepreneurial program since we started about 6 years ago, and have been in the top 3 teams going to Washington, D.C. for national competitions almost every year. And actually won the competition 2 years ago. So we absolutely love having those students in our program.
Thank you.
While learning may look different, right, and some things have stopped or shifted, there are several projects within the university that I think hopefully are continuing to move along. One of those is the hospital. Can you talk a little? And construction seems to be still going. And so in general, it's one of the industries that is still working. Can you talk a little bit about the hospital and the status, and if that's on target?
Well, HCA is building a teaching research hospital on our campus, and we will be intricately involved with HCA. HCA East Florida has 14 hospitals in South Florida, all the way from St. Lucie down to Miami-Dade. So we are very fortunate that they've elected to build their newest hospital, one of the newest in their entire system in the nation. And it's starting out close to 200 beds, but they built a foundation that would be able to support 600 beds as we develop and have opportunities for clinical trials from our research and the hospital, and as we expand NSU Health, which has really been 33 separate clinics, and we're all putting them now under the heading of NSU Health, especially since we have 2 medical schools, the only university with 2 medical schools in Florida, and one of 3 in the nation that has both MD and DO, or osteopathic medicine and allopathic medicine. So we are very fortunate to also have a benefactor who named both medical schools, Dr. Karen C. Patel College of Osteopathic Medicine and Dr. Karen C. Patel College of Allopathic Medicine. He's a resident of Tampa, and he's also on our board of trustees. So things are moving very well, and HCA, in my last report, looks as if they will be opening up probably after the first of the year, maybe the second quarter of 2021 with their hospital. So right, construction has been considered essential, and they've continued to work through this pandemic.
Yeah, very exciting. I mean, so many wonderful accomplishments, right? And so many things to brag about right here in our own backyard. So one of the other things that I know I've been told has been a long time dream of yours was to create an academical village right near the college, near the hospital. Talk a little bit about that and what's going to be happening soon with that.
Well, you pronounced it correctly. A lot of
I
people
did.
don't. The word is academical. Jefferson coined that phrase in 1819. And like many during that Enlightenment period, they would make up their own words to explain what they meant. To Jefferson, when he founded the University of Virginia, it was to teach those young men when they came to the university that indeed it was a university, not a college. It's been called a university since 1819, and it's been called his Academical Village since 1819. And that was, at a university, you always have theory. And theory without practice was no more than an academic exercise. So Jefferson wanted to show his students that theory was essential, but without practice, theory was no more than an academic exercise. But he also wanted to show that practice without theory was stagnant, and there was no invention, there was no innovation, there was no stretching the mind, pushing ideas and concepts. So theory and practice coming together was Jefferson's concept, and he called it, instead of calling it theory and practice, he called it academical. And he built a village where there would be practitioners who were academically qualified to teach the theory, but could also demonstrate how that practice came together and created innovation and leadership. What NSU is building with technology is a 21st century academical village, utilizing the technology of the 21st century instead of just the academics of the 18th century.
Yeah, I think I can relate to this, and I absolutely understand the theory, and I love the idea. And the reason I say that is because I think that's the whole premise behind JA World, right? We can teach financial literacy in the classroom. We can teach entrepreneurship, and we can teach career skills and career exploration. But there is nothing, but that alone, without the simulations, right? That practice in the JA World, biz towns and finance parks and out in the industries that we visit and being out at NSU, the students don't have a chance without that to connect the theory and the practice. And so I think you're right. And I think sometimes people think, oh, they came for a field trip. Well, but they had to do 22 weeks or lessons of theory before they came to the simulation.
Well, you're absolutely right. And it's why we've supported JA ever since it was an idea, not even drawn on paper yet. It was an idea. So we've been supportive, and we will continue to be supportive of JA because of that very concept. You see, it's part of our core values for innovation and opportunity and student-centered and integrity in everything we do, and community. So I think you've got a continued support with us.
I love it. Well, I was absolutely not going to get this, let this session end without talking about the amazing support and what an opportunity that we have to introduce, right, every eighth grader and high schooler to what we have right here in our own backyard and opportunities to attend NSU. You know, Dr. Hanbury, you went from leading a large city here in Broward to leading a very large university. And without great leadership, right, organizations don't succeed the way that they would without. And so I wonder if you could share with us a few of the leadership values and traits that you brought or developed and brought over from being a city manager to running a large university?
Well, there's a lot of things in common with that. And as you know, for 30 years, I was a city manager in 4 different cities, 3 in Virginia, and then 1 in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. Mm-hmm. So I was in Norfolk, Virginia, Portsmouth, Virginia, Virginia Beach, Virginia, and then Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So running a city is very much like running a university. And the city manager in all the cities I served was the chief executive. Written in the charter, it is under the council manager form of government. Very much theory and practice coming together. All of my educational background was in administration, finance, economics, leadership, and as such, bringing disparate groups together to accomplish a specific goal, which was the vision created by the elected officials of the city in which I served and the individuals who would hire me. I was always hired by the majority of the board, which meant that I could be fired by the majority of the board. So I served at the pleasure of the city councils or city commission in which I served, but I always brought their vision to fruition, which was the vision that they worked with for the general citizenry of each of those communities. Now, when Ray Ferrero asked me to come to NSU to be his chief operating officer, he said, George, there's a need to bring all of the various colleges and schools and operating departments. We've got 18 colleges. We've got 18 different departments, from finance to technology to human resources to operations, and they need to be brought together. We don't have a chief operating officer, but running a university is very similar to a city because it has so many other aspects from just being in the classroom. You've got utilities, you've got water, you've got sewer, you've got public safety, you've got police, you've got health aspects, you've got clinics, you've got operational aspects, whether it is finance or technology. So everything you did as a city manager, and then working with a volunteer board that establishes the vision of where they want to go, that's what we need to do, is to see the vision of NSU come to fulfillment. So everything that I ever did for 30 years as a city manager, I've been able to use, and every bit of the educational aspects, whether it was undergraduate, graduate, or my doctoral degree, my PhD in public administration, every bit of that theory has had a place for practice, not only in the cities I serve, but in the university I serve and the students who I work with.
Yeah. So I know when I come to visit you with some of our students, which I always love to do, you talk often about the values of NSU. And I wondered if you might share them with our audience.
Well, I've been a firm believer, taught by my parents, that you need to express your values and live your values. Because if people don't know what you value, then they figure you will stand for anything they may value. And I think that is important, not only for individuals, but for universities, organizations. If not, then you would use some, whatever the means would justify the ends. And whatever the ends would justify the means. You can't justify the means solely following the ends. You have to justify the ends following your core values, which are always sacrosanct. But they need to be understood by everyone. Now, when you're an individual, you don't need to write down and broadcast what your values are. It's when you are questioned, what do you believe in and how do you operate? That's when you express. Or when someone wants you to do something contrary to your core values, then you say, no, I can't do that because that is contrary to my core values. When I was city manager and someone wanted to give me a Persian rug in order to get a permit approved, do you think I said, okay? No, it was a violation of my core value. Well, at a university, we've got 24,000 students, all the way from nursery to physicians, from almost 2-month-old to 25 years old. So we need to let people know what we stand for if we want to attract students, and hopefully they have similar values. Or if they don't, then we say, you come, and as you get here, you will establish those values if you want to graduate, or if you don't, then you don't need to come. So we want people to understand what we believe in as a university, and it's not just me. I worked with all the deans, the faculties, and trustees to say, do you believe in this? Do you believe in these values? And that we can espouse those values to our existing students, future students, to our potential donors, to individuals who want to associate with us. Can you say, we honor these values and we want people who have similar values to be associated with us? And they've all said yes.
Yeah.
The trustees voted those core values in 2010. And that's what we've been living for. Even when SACS did our last reaccreditation without any recommendations or comments, they were pleasantly surprised and told me they have never had where they gave personal interviews to students, whether face-to-face students, whether at our regional campuses in the state of Florida and in Puerto Rico, or completely online, when they asked about diversity or integrity or giving back to the community or academic excellence or being student-centered, the students would say, well, you know, diversity is one of NSU's core values. And they said they have never experienced that because our students know what our core values are and they practice them. And that helps to unleash their potential so that when they graduate, they have done more than just get a discipline in an academic study. Holding core values exercises the ability of leadership, because leaders get followers because they let people know what they really believe in, and people want to follow or they don't. So leadership and core values are integrated.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that I think I admire most about you, and I know that you're a leadership, teach leadership so often, and I am a leadership development like a geek about this stuff. If you look at my desk right now, there's a series of 7 leadership books that I actually started doing with my team, and it's so interesting to watch. Each one of the books has 3 to 5 principles that come out of a story. And it's really interesting to watch that culture and those values begin to become, right, to spread across the organization. And as you said, for everyone to be living those values and to create that culture. I love it. So I am truly in awe of all of that, because that is something that's so important to me. I think we all get a lot of advice along the way and through the years. And someone told me that you got some really good advice from your mom.
Yes, that's true. She had a little saying, she always encouraged me to establish goals, write them down, and each day, each month, each year, see that task was fulfilled. But she had a little kind of a cliche saying that she would say, and that was, when a task is once begun, never leave it till it's done. Be the labor, great or small, do it well, George, or not at all.
Oh, I like that. I like that. We're going to put that up. We're definitely going to put that on all of our social media posts when we post this interview. My dad was a sports guy, and he played professional baseball, and he was the dean of students at a college in New York. And so what I heard, it's kind of similar advice, but his was really pretty simple, was if you're going to get on that field, you better be all in, right? Or don't play the game. And that's basically what both our parents taught us, I think. And
another one that I like that Thomas Jefferson used, and that is, I have found that the harder I work, the luckier I get.
I like that. We're going to put these up for everybody to share. I love when things come out like this. I send my nieces and my daughter and the kids all quotes every morning. They laugh at me, but I don't care. I keep doing it. And believe it or not, now they're sending me quotes. So see, they really do listen.
All right, good.
So of all of those things that you brought through your city manager days, through college, through, now in the university, what would you say? Because of course, the name of the show is Your Recipe for Success. What would you say is your main ingredient to success?
It's that little bromide that I said, perseverance, keeping your eye on the goal, and seeing it through, and be the labor, great or small, you do it well or you don't do it at all. So I think you always have to keep perseverance. I've never considered failure to be a person. Failure is an event in your life. And many times it takes failure in order to be successful. So failure to me has always been a learning moment of me, what I should do something better next time, or what I should not be doing at all.
Exactly. Yeah, I just did a little video on LinkedIn the other day, and I had just finished working out, and I had on a shirt that a friend of mine one day called me, and he said, "You are relentless." And he said it in the kindest way, but I still took it as an insult, right, at first. And then I bought a shirt that said relentless, and then I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? Actually, I think that's a compliment. I think that we have to be relentless, right, in the pursuit for excellence.
If you really believe in what you're doing, then why would you not want to be relentless and persevere, and don't let a setback cause you to say, well, I've given up. I think as long as you keep your eye on the goal, you'll succeed.
Yeah, I am with you on that. So last thing I want to mention, because there's such a great tie-in with junior achievement and entrepreneurship and what we do and what we're getting our students ready for, is the Center of Innovation that you and Broward County, NSU and Broward County have done collaboratively. Talk a little bit about that, because I think sometimes there's confusion amongst people about centers for innovation, where they think it's about startups, right? And I don't think that's exactly what the center is for.
No. This is indeed bringing theory and practice together, so that as a center of innovation, You want people to be innovative, creative, but you can't be innovative and creative unless you are challenged. We're living through innovation right now because the world is being challenged with this pandemic of COVID-19. And don't you think we're seeing some things coming out of this that are going to be positive because we've all been challenged? How are we going to deliver programs that we never thought we could deliver before? How can we work remotely? How can we accomplish what we want to do when we can't be but 6 feet away from people? How are we going to be? And we're finding answers to things that one, we never were challenged. Two, we were never asked. And three, we didn't even think we would be challenged because we never even thought that we would have something that was like 100 years ago. We've got the 100-year storm in 1918. My grandfather left 8 young children at 48 years old. My mother, my grandfather died of influenza in 1918. And we are seeing some of the same tragedies today. But they didn't have the technology in 1918 to be zooming across like you and I. They didn't, but they found new challenges and they found answers that many things they did then improved society and improved living. So I think challenges create innovation. That's what this center of innovation is to create an atmosphere for the finest technology to ever be utilized for minds to be innovative and for startup businesses to scale up, to be the venue for venture capitalists to come and hear pitches on what they're like a Shark Tank, right. to be and to attract jobs, businesses in high tech and biotech and technology to come to Broward County. The Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance will use NSU and the 5th floor of the library as that venue. And when you go into that, which will be open probably again close to when the hospital is open, that second quarter of 2021, you will see a wow and innovative area that helps to create scale-up businesses, not startups, but scale-ups, to be successful businesses and to help to attract other businesses or existing businesses to come and use what they call skunk works, which is to utilize that atmosphere and the technology we have to maybe even expand their own products right here in Broward. So it will be theory and practice and every bit of a definition of a 21st century academical village.
Yeah, I was going to say it sounds like its own village within the big village, right? And we're so proud. I mean, I'm hoping that, we have several students who continued their entrepreneurial journey after the JA Fellows program. And I truly hope that one day soon we will see some of those students who some of them are in startup mode and they are continuing to build their companies, and that someday they'll be in there as a scale up. And that would be amazing to watch. I think, this has been so great for me to get. I always love the time that I spend with you. It's always inspiring and motivating. And these videos, by the way, not only go out to our social media and the community, but they also are used with our students. We want them to hear from students like you, from people like you and leaders like you. And so this has been fantastic for that. If you could suggest or give our students, our entrepreneurial and career bound and college bound students, one piece of advice like your mom gave you, what would that be, Dr. Hanbury?
Well, I define success as progressive realization of a worthy goal. I would never call a drug dealer a successful person. In my mind, being a drug dealer is not a worthy goal. But if you establish goals that are worthy and work day in and day out, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, 1 year at a time, you will see progressive realization of a worthy goal, and you'll be successful in whatever you undertake to do.
I can't think of a better way to end our interview. Progressive realization of a worthy goal. I think I'm going to have to put that up on my own wall as well. That was great advice, great information. You are doing such amazing things at NSU. We are so proud to be a partner with you, and thank you for all that you do for us and for this community at large. No better partner, right, in our community than all of you, and I know that's part of your success. So thank you so much for joining me today.
It's my pleasure, and be well.
Thank you. You too. My best to you and the family.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.